Waiting for Answers, a Mountaintop News Digging Deep investigation.
Sheldon Compton here for Mountaintop News, and in this concluding segment of the three-part series, Waiting for Answers, we continue to look at the State Crime Lab. In this one, we're going to look at the science. Lab Director Jeremy Triplett takes us through 4 steps in the process of handling evidence.
When we receive the evidence, the process is lengthy, just in terms of how we test. If you're dealing with biology, the first step is extraction. And so we will chemically extract the DNA from the sample, whatever's present. It's a little bit easier if it's a small area, but if it's a large area, large materials, clothing, it takes some time to find where the DNA is. And so the first thing we'll do is extract the DNA from all the other cellular material.
It's only after the lab has received the collected evidence that a small staff of biologists can begin to take stock of what they have to work with.
And then the second step is quantitation. We need to know how much DNA is there. That also varies significantly. There are cases where if there's a lot of blood, that's fairly DNA rich. And so we'll get a lot of DNA from a sample like that. Some evidence is just not as, the DNA is not as there's not as much there. And so the second step is quantitation to know just how much DNA is there. Do we have enough to proceed with just conventional testing?
Norton Eye Center in Pikeville, your local vision experts. Experienced doctors using state-of-the-art technology. Choose from top designer frames from Oakley, Ray-Ban, Nike, and more. We accept Medicaid and Medicare, plus most insurances are accepted. Norton Eye Center in Pikeville, next to Tractor Supply.
It's not until the third step in the process that Triplett and his staff can move on to closely examining the actual DNA on hand.
The third step is amplification, which is essentially we look at a specific region of DNA, several specific regions. They're highly variable among people. It's not the coding regions that create physical traits or anything like that. We look at specific regions and then we create copies. It's almost like a copy machine, a little more advanced. But we take that DNA we have, we find those regions that are variable, that are highly variable among individuals, and then we produce lots of copies, millions of copies. That allows us to look at it and analyze it.
And it's only in the fourth step when biologists can begin the actual analysis of evidence.
So the last step we do amplification, and then the last step is analysis. We essentially create somewhat of, you could call it a genetic fingerprint. We look at all the different markers. We see if the markers are there. And then if we have an unknown DNA profile from, a suspected crime, and then we have a known DNA profile, we do the same process with both. We would compare those genetic fingerprints to determine whether it's possible statistically that the person whose profile we know could be a contributor to that profile recovered from, some suspected scene.
Once the scientific side of the job is completed, there is a lengthy time period where Triplett makes sure that all the boxes are checked through measures of quality assurance.
And the other thing that kind of takes a while sometimes is we have rigorous quality assurance processes. So we can't just kind of stick the profile on an instrument, get a printout, and go ahead and say, that was or was not somebody. We realize that the gravity of the crimes we're talking about in most instances with DNA are severe. It probably, from a victim standpoint, represents the worst day of their life. And then if you're accused, or if, potentially wrongly accused, the stakes are high. And so we have rigorous quality assurance processes after we perform that testing to ensure that we're getting the right answer.
This concludes our three-part series, Waiting for Answers, for Mountaintop News' Digging Deep investigative series. I'm Sheldon Compton. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.